Not far from Disney World, on a stretch of sprawling grasslands called the Florida Prairie, researchers are gradually rebuilding the population of a tiny, skittish sparrow that's the most endangered bird on the continent. A band of wildlife scientists, nonprofits, and universities are working together to nurture the Florida grasshopper sparrow back from just 22 remaining pairs, as we document in our new book, A Wing and a Prayer, The Race to Save Our Vanishing Birds. They figured out how to breed chicks in captivity. They watched to make sure the fledglings knew how to behave like sparrows in the wild. Then they released a few at a time on the prairie to find mates and breed. Slowly, the sparrows' numbers are inching up again. 2023081 Opinion Saving the Birds Florida Grasshopper Sparrow. Photo illustration /Alberto Meyer /CNN /Anders Gyllenhaal. The rescue is an inspiring story, but it's also a worrisome one. For decades, missions like these have played out on the edge of extinction while wildlife conservation has proven unable to slow the broad erosion of North America's birds. It's been 4 years since researchers discovered that nearly a third of the breeding bird population withered away since the 1970s, and the outlook has only gotten more pressing. About half our bird species are in some stage of decline. The causes are a lethal blend of old and new forces, ranging from loss of habitat in shifting climates to hazards such as high-rise glass buildings, city lights, outdoor cats, wind turbines, and pesticides. It's a grab bag of threats that need to be met with a serious overhaul of our conservation strategies. Thankfully, a number of emerging advances can make a difference. Research breakthroughs, sophisticated tracking tools, new conservation ideas, even genomic tools offer remedies if we're willing to put them to work in a methodical, aggressive way. The two of us spent a year traveling 25,000 miles and interviewing more than 300 people for our book. We visited inspiring, encouraging rescues all across the hemisphere that could be models for recovery. Some of the most promising come from technologies that analyze and protect species in creative new ways before they're down to their last few birds. They range from the use of sound to track birds to a sprawling project in Hawaii to counteract the impacts of climate change. These methods aren't cheap. Recovery missions for individual species can cost between $1 million a year to 10 or 20 times that. But we believe these investments are well worth it compared to the price of letting another third of America's birds vanish over the next half-century. California spotted owl. In the Sierra Nevada mountain range, the U.S. Forest Service is using a combination of audio recorders and artificial intelligence to track dwindling populations of the California spotted owl. The tools have turned out to be the best way to pinpoint the locations of the popular, splotchy owls that are spread across vast, nearly impenetrable expanses. Researchers strap the recorders to trees spread throughout the forest to gather the owl's hoots and calls and then apply algorithms that create maps of precisely where the owls are. Those findings then help foresters fashion plans to protect the birds from predators, improve their habitat with better forest management, and monitor the owls as their numbers stabilize. Red-cockaded woodpecker. At the other end of the country, in the southeastern United States, the red-cockaded woodpecker, thought to be doomed not long ago, is making a comeback with help from none other than the Department of Defense. Military bases have emerged as islands of open land now home to some 500 troubled species. Though feathered creatures can get in the way of training and base life, commanders, required under the Endangered Species Act to prevent extinctions, have embraced research and conservation efforts restoring birds and other wildlife, none more successfully than this woodpecker. The pickiest of birds, the red-cockaded can live only in cavities that take as long as a decade to carve into aged, longleaf pines. The military figured out how to make man-made, wooden replicas that can be installed in the trees in a few hours, instantly expanding the housing for these birds and boosting their populations. It's in the nation's best interest that we have a prepared armed forces, Ryan Orndorff, Director of Natural Resources for the Department of Defense, told us. It's also in the nation's best interest that these imperiled species remain in existence.